All right. Hi, everybody. I am Becky Schnexer. I am a K-5 science teacher in Virginia Beach, Virginia at Cape Henry Collegiate. And I am here with a brand new friend of mine, Kate, who I'm going to introduce to you in just a minute, but a little bit about why we're here and what we're up to. A few weeks ago, when we started all of the remote and distance learning nationwide in the United States and across countries and the entire world, in fact, we started looking into new ideas. Educators around the world, what are we going to do in this new opportunity for remote learning or distance learning? And then emails started pouring in from companies intending to help and offering free assistance and free resources, but it tended to overwhelm us. And it's still to today. I've been remote learning or distance learning for 10 weeks, and I'm still getting those emails. And there are still days when I wake up, look at my inbox, and see a great blessing of free resources, but then immediately my heart starts racing because I'm overwhelmed with all of the opportunities that we have out there. So the thought behind this series of videos and guest speakers is to look at simple ideas, one little small idea that we can practice together and then turn around in just a couple days or a weekend and use in your classroom on Monday. So this week, I'm super excited to have my friend Kate, who is from the world of art, and she's gonna show us something super exciting that I know you can use, yes, you, in whatever age group you teach or whatever content area, whatever subject you're teaching. So enough from me. I'm gonna introduce you to Kate and let her take it away.
Thanks, Becky, and hi. This is really fun because we've just actually face-to-face met just now. We've been friends on Twitter, but now we're face-to-face friends, which is super fantastic. And I am an art educator, and I've been for quite a while. But I think I want to kind of step out of that box, like the box of just art, because I feel like art is in everything. So we're kind of like the creativity guru or something, but I just think art has so many, once you get in there, it opens so many doors to other aspects. And like you said, it can be really simple and we can kind of expand from there and go in any direction. So yeah, I'm excited. We'll get started?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll put us in gallery view and that way we can see everything that's going on.
Awesome. So we're going to do mandalas. Mandalas are amazing in my eyes for so many reasons. One, they are art, so we can get that. You can talk about math with them because we've got angles and radius and circumference. I mean, you can go on and on. We can talk about science as well. You can use these in a multiple variety of ways. We've got history if you want to talk about the culture behind mandalas, and I could go on and on. So that's up to you guys out there to kind of find where this fits into your niche. Or what I've been doing this month too is promoting a lot of mental health projects. So this is a great tool that we can use to just calm ourselves and to kind of bring focus and clarity to maybe a little bit of a chaotic mind that's happening with all this stuff going on. So we're going to break it down to like the most simplistic way of doing a mandala. You could get out a ruler and protractor and compass and all of that, which is great if you are working with older kids or you want to turn this into a math lesson, but we're going to keep it super simple because I don't want anyone to feel like they can't do it. So first thing, get a piece of paper, any size, big, small, whatever you've got, and something circular. So I do not want people to like beat themselves over the head to find something, to draw a perfect circle. I just use a coffee mug and we're just gonna trace it. I prefer using a marker. You can use anything you have, but that way I can't erase a mistake and I have to just accept what's on my paper is there. I don't have to go back and forth and kind of second guess myself. So I'm going to be using a black Sharpie and we're just going to trace our circle. And then once we've got that, If you do have something that's breakable, move that out of the way, because it's happened to me a couple times. Cut your circle out, just on the line. And if you did want to turn this more into a meditative type of thing, don't have it with me talking. Put on some quiet music. It kind of is distracting otherwise, but quiet music, you could do it outside. Anything that is kind of soothing to you. And you can always reuse these scraps. So many people think scraps are just for the trash or for the recycle bin, but you've got now a whole nother project waiting for you with the outside of your circle. So teachers, use these, kiddos, use these. But let's keep with our mandala. To make it so we've got those shapes in it and we don't have to pull out a protractor and compass and ruler, we're gonna just fold it. So we'll fold it in half, put a nice crease. And then this time we'll go from like left to right. Put a good crease. Wow, Becky, you have some major kitchen shears.
I know. They're the only pictures I could find. So I was like,
I love it. I know, I love it. I'm like, wow, it's beautiful. And then fold it one more time. If you wanted, you could end there, but you'll only have 4 sections. And that last fold might be a little tricky for smaller hands. It depends on how big your paper is. And then open it up. And you can see with the creases, we've got 8 equal sections, which is going to create some radial symmetry for us. Now, from there, you have a couple options. You can leave it as it is and start putting in your design. I like to have kids go ahead and put in a black line on top of those creases. One, it makes it stand out a bit better and kind of gives you a little more clarity on your paper. And 2, some of the younger kids find it hard to not actually have a line there. So from there, we're going to go ahead and add in our pattern. And this is kind of almost anything goes. To keep it very, let's say, meditative, I like to make sure I keep going in that circular direction. So let's say I'm going to start, and if you want to join with the same first design, and then you can go off on your own. Let's say I'm just going to put kind of like a little curve. Let's see if I can zoom a bit more too. And then I'm slowly going to turn my paper and do it again. So we keep with that same simple shape, and it gives our brain actually a break. It can kind of be like, oh wait, I know for the next 7 spots, I'm just doing that same exact shape. And they don't have to be perfect. As you can see, mine are a little bit wonky compared to the others. I love it. Awesome. It's looking like a flower on yours.
Oh, I know. I was a little concerned because mine are not even, but
right, and
but it looks awesome. Like
it does. It's really, it's just getting it down there and saying, I'm good. It can be a little flawed. And it takes away that, I feel like by the end you have such confidence and wow, I didn't have to erase. I got through to the end. I saw a few flubs, but I can sit with that and be okay. If you wanted to use this more with like a science class, you could put features of say an insect. Maybe the first one you'll focus on like an eye shape, and then so you can kind of cater these to what you're teaching about as well. So yeah, let's just keep going. Yours can be exactly like mine. You can start creating your own designs. If you're out there watching and following along, just make sure you kind of keep going in that rotational pattern. That's what adds to our symmetry. I know too, if I get stumped, which does happen where you're like, oh, what do I draw next? Just throw down a line. The worst that will happen is you don't really care for it and you kind of start over.
Yeah, I was thinking too, as we're taking turns with different patterns, this might be something cool. It is calming me down, like
It,
concentrating on these little designs, and it's nothing spectacular, right? It's just kind of whatever pops into
mhm.
my mind. But this would be a really cool, I think, community thing too. If I did my line is the first one, and then I pass it
Oh, I
in a
love
like
that.
in a circle, and then the
Okay,
next
Miss
person
Kate.
does something.
Miss Kate has been doing mandalas for 15-ish years. I never thought to do that. What a fun idea if you had it at a table or, oh my gosh, yes, definitely.
And then it's like a team, it's a
A
team thing.
team building.
Even when it comes to coloring, like maybe I color my own, but it has a little piece of all of my friends or all of my teammates in it. Or even coloring, you could collaboratively color, and maybe I color
Mm-hmm.
the first part and then we pass the opposite way to do colors. I think
Absolutely.
that's so cool. Or thinking of those ideas like glyphs, when it's like, oh, if you're an only child, color it green. If you have siblings, color it red. And it could even be one of those that symbolizes who you are. And we could use this in so many different ways. Like I was thinking when we were folding, talking about fractions and you brought up
Mm-hmm.
radial symmetry, and I was like, that's perfect. All of those words just kind of naturally happen. And you could even talk about geometry. We started with the circle, and we have all of these triangular pieces that fit in it. Or how many more could you fit? Or could you perhaps do this with a different shape? I love that. That's a great.
Yeah, no, what's so great is when you break it down to such a simple shape, like this is the bare bones of creating one. I think it gives you more opportunities to create unique ideas. Like you thinking, well, we could have other, like we pass it as we do it, or doing the glyphs with, if I'm an only child, I color it green. When you get into doing the mandala just to make it an art project only, and you want the fine details and the exact lines, and you're going to pull out the compass and the protractor, you
Yeah.
lose that opportunity because it's all just about the creation of this. But when you can leave it open, oh my gosh, I got goosebumps thinking about all the things. And I'm hoping people watching are like, oh my gosh, I could use this for this lesson or for that lesson. It's truly endless.
Yeah, and when I originally saw that you were doing this with Art Date with Miss Kate, the first thing that came to my mind was cultural influences. So I teach a lot about South America with my second graders, and I get into like Shipibo and indigenous cultures and looking at their art and their weavings, and it's all nature based. And let's look at, how do you know it's from this tribe and not this one? And it's because of this particular pattern that you're going to see no matter what family you're in. If you are in this indigenous tribe called Shipibo, you're going to have this little pattern always. It might be slightly different, but there's a method to that's what kind of pulls them all together. So I was like, oh man, that's perfect. Or how could we make, if we have a piece of paper like this, I could make at least 4 of these. How could we represent 4 different cultures or 4 different tribes of a different nation, or do something like that? Or how can I split this into different fractional parts? And then even I was thinking too, sorry, my brain's like, pop, pop,
Go
pop.
for it. No, do you like my brain's like, please tell me more, tell me more.
We could tell stories with it. Maybe some of these things symbolize, there's 2 here and 2, and then we could go back into math, right? 2 times 8, how many is that? Or 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? Adding
Absolutely.
8 times. We could interweave that and then just talk about a story. Well, there were 16 cats, and maybe this line is talking about the path that they walked every single day from house to house to get food, and
Mm-hmm.
weaving stories into it. Or even looking at oh, there was something else and I totally,
It's okay, we'll come back.
yeah, but there's just so many things that you could make.
Another great thing to do is make a large collaborative art piece where everyone does their own individual one, and you can put them all together. Maybe you string them all together and they become sort of like a little flag. You can post them. I know I love this idea that a little art friend of mine did. She and her whole family did them, and they made a booklet, a little homemade book. And it was the most precious, simple idea, but it took this very easy activity and gave it another layer, a little extra depth to it. So it was super fun to see that. And that's another thing. Ask your students. They are chock full of amazing ideas. You could give them this and they will come up with something, as now this is going to be a decal for your t-shirt, or, you know, like we're going to turn them into frisbees, or they will have something that might spark, what do I do next with this?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I remember, so going back to math again, you could look at ratios, fractions, percents, decimals, how many circles are on here, or how many designs total, and then you get your total number, and then how many of those are circles, get your fraction, get your decimal, get your percent. Or like you were saying at the beginning, this doesn't have to be connected to content. This can be just a fun activity, just something to calm down, something to soothe you, or you could chalk it into content as well. I love activities where I call it low entry, low floor, high ceiling. You can,
yes,
at the basic whatever, it's something to do, right? It's an art project or just something to put in the mix, break up your day. But then it could be XYZ times 2, you know, just.
yeah, exactly. No, true.
Yeah.
I even, as you're talking, I'm thinking you could do these in various sizes and they could represent the different planets for science.
I
And
love
you
that.
put a design that kind of is symbolic of that planet. So, I mean, yeah, that's, you can go anywhere with these and they always look different. I don't think in all the years I've done these, I have ever seen two come out the same unless they purposely did it to come out the same. Like you always surprise yourself, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
So, and then when we want to add color, I like to do the same thing where you kind of rotate around. So I'll just show one layer because we'll be here forever.
Yeah.
Because I'll just start talking more. So lots of the younger kids especially like to just color it as a big section. Instead, keep it as these individual segments. This segment here in and of itself is its own artwork. So do that one, and then again, you turn it. That is what kind of creates that more meditative, calming aspect of it, rather than filling in the entire thing as just one blob. And you can kind of envision too, if you didn't have those black lines that we originally put in, those segment sections, it would definitely have a different look to it. The harsh black lines would not be there. And here is a great time you can talk about color. You could go, this is a great art opportunity of color groupings. You could do warm colors, cool colors, or you just go with what your gut feels.
Yeah, and that can even spark conversation where you're looking at different colors. Why did you choose those colors? Or I noticed you didn't use this color at all. Can you tell me about that? Or they might not necessarily have a big reason. They're just like, oh, I don't like pink, so I didn't want pink on my mandala. Or it could spark a really interesting conversation about maybe I don't like the color pink because once I had pink sneakers and I got sick all over them and I will never ever do anything with the color
Right?
pink ever again. And then you're like, oh my God. And then you have a connection. You're like, oh my goodness. Okay, great. So duly noted.
Yep. And I mean, yes, this just kind of goes, there are truly, I think, endless possibilities. This really, your imagination is the only thing that would be stopping how far you could take this. But you could even say, okay, we've done these. Let's go out in nature now and find mandalas, because a flower does have that radial or rotational symmetry. So you could be on a bug hunt. Butterflies have this as an eye spot. So once you're completed, you then have more extension activities that you can go do, which is so exciting. And at least in my eyes, I'm like, oh, that, I think I'm going to go on a bug hunt later.
Yeah, or I could see it happening the other way around too. You could be on a nature walk and then just students choose something that inspires them, whatever it is, and maybe they could bring it back with them, and then you introduce this and you go, okay, so let's think about or encourage them to use that color scheme in their project. I could see either one, or doing it both ways. One time you do it
Right.
before, and then another time you do it afterwards. I love that.
I feel like you and I, we'd sit here all day just coming up with more lessons and be like, well, can the other ones?
You're like, that. I'm doing this for everything.
Right.
To everything. Yeah, I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I didn't realize until recently that not everyone thinks that way. Even educators are so incredibly creative, all in their own different ways. And I just thought all educators think the way I do, and they can see this and spark 500 ideas of how to integrate that, but they don't. And so that's another beautiful thing about connecting and just hearing someone else's perspective, or just seeing, they're like, oh, dang, she's doing this as art.
Slow down.
I want to know how to do that.
Yeah, no, it is really true. And I think when we are an individual who is able to get a million ideas at one time, we do sometimes forget it's not as easy for others. So I so appreciate that you're doing this and saying, look, we are going to kind of baby step you, or give you a few little tidbits of what you could do. And I am hoping that with time, it does open up that doorway for others to realize, oh wait, I know how to do this. I can think a little bit past what's just there on the paper.
Yeah.
So, and now I'm thinking these could become spinners and be one of those really cool, what the old picture thing where you had to spin it. I can't think.
Oh yeah. Are you talking about spin art, or like
spin
pyrograph?
Where the photo would be up on the edges of the thing and you spin it. They have it at the Science Museum. I can't.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
It's a something type or something. Yes, that just came in my mind.
And then students could do that on their own. The next time you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, look, we could spin it. What about next time? The edge is, I don't know, a little stick figure, like jumping over a rock. And they
right? Oh my gosh, here we go.
My Post-it notes. And I'm like, I go through my class.
I think it would work though.
Yeah, well, there's only one way to find out.
Right.
Try it.
Project.
That's awesome. That's super cool. And then it could be a spinner for a game that they're playing in class. So maybe we're like, forget the spinner that came with the game. I'm using my awesome one.
Yeah, no, that's true. Actually, if you think about it, the spinners are essentially a mandala shape, just with colors in it. So I don't mind. I think we might have to make games too now.
I know. And then purposefully make this into the spinner. I love that. You're basically see the numbers and then you mandala it up. I love it.
Right? Oh, that's the game. Mandala it up.
That's right. We're going to copyright that.
Yeah, Hasbro, if you're watching, we've got a game for you.
Mandala it up.
Yeah.
And we'll help you make it.
Right. Yeah, we've got all the tools, all the tricks. Just ask.
That's so awesome. Awesome. Well, Kate, it's been amazing having you here. I feel like you said earlier, we've known each other for a little bit on Twitter, and then for the first time in person just before we started filming. But I feel like we're now best friends. And
oh, of course. Yeah.
I think we should just have our own show. Schneckster and Kate.
Yep. It could be. It's like Hans and Franz or something. We're here to pump you up.
That's right. Pump you up. I love it. So
Yep.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for being here. And everyone out there, if you have ideas, if this sparked something in you, please share in the comments. The best thing about all of this is seeing and hearing different perspectives. How are you going to use this? How could you use this? Or how could you tweak it to use it in your situation? We would love to hear. All right. Have an awesome day, everybody.